they want to. Talk don't bother me. I want the whole wide world to know that I love you so.
And welcome to Let Them Talk. I'm Paul DeRienzo.
And I'm Miss Joan Moossy.
And our guest, Philip Van Aver, who's joining us to talk about his postcard collection, which is not just an ordinary postcard collection. It's quite a postcard collection.
And this weekend's upcoming postcard show.
Yes, of course.
Yes, the reason that I'm here today is because the Metropolitan Postcard Collectors Club, which meets monthly. We've been in existence in New York City since 1946. Wow. And twice a year we have 3-day shows at the New Yorker Hotel. And this May, the show will be running May 15th, May 16th, and May 17th. That's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
This weekend.
At the New Yorker Hotel, and that's at 34th Street and 8th Avenue on the second floor. And Joni's going to hold up the...
Yeah, we have the website, so you can get more information if you like.
Yes, and the hours are complicated, but I'm just going to boil it down and say come between noon and 6 o'clock, except on Sunday when they close at 4:30. And
yeah, it's a different time every day, but if you go to the website, you can see the details.
Now,
it's basically from noon one day, 10 another day, 11 another day. But
now then, I have brought some cards from my collection, and I hope that you'll be able to see them. I took out certain categories that I thought would be interesting to people, even if they are not postcard collectors. And I'm going to say at the outset that most of these cards are available, or would be available at the show, and they're affordable, meaning they're worth between $5 and $15 a piece. Many of these cards I've had for a long time, and because American Indian cards are one of the most collected and interesting areas of cards, and I do have a large collection. Now,
Philip, before we get to showing the cards, I wanted to ask you a few questions about postcards in general. First of all, what is a postcard?
Well, the postcards were developed really in the latter part of the 19th century. There are different dates for them. In 1897, there was the Diamond Jubilee of Queen Victoria, and they instituted the penny post throughout the British Empire, which meant that you could send a penny postcard from British Guiana to Singapore for a penny. And so as a result of this, the postcards became developed, for instance, different kind of ethnographic cards, view cards of all kinds of places throughout Europe and the United States. And in the United States, postcards started about a year later. And the heyday of postcards was really the period, the golden age of postcards was really from about 1900 to about 1910. But of course, as we all know, postcards were, they're still available.
Right. They're still being made.
You can still send a postcard for less than 44 cents.
Yes, well...
Do you know how much it costs now?
25.
25 cents to send a postcard.
Is that right?
No,
I'm guessing.
yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know what the new rates, but we're going to talk now. Postcards were both for purposes of mailing and purposes of collecting. And many of the cards, which I will attempt to show you tonight, were made kind of for collectors, but there was just a very wide range of purposes. And Paul, I'm gonna start showing the cards.
Great.
Yes.
Paul and Joni, and then we can
talk some more about their history.
All right, so we're going by categories.
Okay,
and the first category is the American Indians.
Right, and these are Paul is going to show them closer, but these are what are called the Indian chief type of cards. They're the authenticity of the the costumes, I'm going to call them, it somewhat opened it out. But this was a very popular type of card.
So the bottom layer, the bottom row is basically portraits.
And then when Paul shows these, these are just views of places, and I'm gonna flip them over, and then when Paul goes, he can show them to you more in detail. These are also cards. Now these happen to be southwestern Indians. These are somewhat more authentic. Again, these photographs, I think, this card was probably published about 100 years ago. But I think the photograph is much earlier, and this type of card was made. For instance, this one, there were lots of cards that were made of Indians doing things, making things,
like day-to-day life.
Okay, and Paul is going to
okay, the other side first.
To show this side,
Yeah.
the Indian chief side first,
Okay.
and I hope that the viewers can get an idea of what these cards are like. And
So-
you see,
Now, are these all from different time periods?
no,
or-
these are
all
these are all from the period of roughly 1905 to 1910.
Okay.
And I have some that I'll show you which are flip it over now and show the ones on the other side. And the one of the woman making little figures is probably somewhat later, but I like the one that shows the two men on horseback. Those are Southwest Navajo Indians. I think that has a certain aura of authenticity. Paul, let's move on to to the next
Great.
area. And these are also Indian cards. However, these happen to be ones of the coast of British Columbia, and they show, for instance, when Paul shows us the women here are wearing shirtwaist dresses. The shirtwaist dress was very fashionable around 1910, and these Indian women in British Columbia are wearing them. And sometimes we.
What's going on in
Now
this
one that Joni just asked about, I included because it's of tourists visiting Indians, and the women are kind of dressed like the flappers of the 1920s. They're dressed in the fashion. But this one I chose, Chilliwack, British Columbia, is very near where I grew up in Bellingham, Washington. It was over the border, but it shows it shows Indians as they were, not in an idealized setting, but as they actually had lived. This one, I'm going to have to read this. Sometimes the captions on these cards are very demeaning. This one reads, Patsy Henderson, inimitable lecturer, Carcross. Carcross is in northern British Columbia near the border. Now I'm going to flip this over.
I notice they also use the term squaw for this woman.
Yes, that is typical